Hey guys, welcome back to Phil Plays TCG. Today we are going to continue a trend, or maybe trend's not the right word. We are going to be continuing a tradition. That's the word. Tradition here on the channel. Before a new set comes out, I go ahead and make a prediction tier list video. That is the big word here. Prediction tier video. I know we don't have all the new cards yet. We haven't seen any tournament play, but I like to, give my two thoughts and try to predict what the meta will look like, how well certain leaders will do in comparison to others. And I've gone over a lot of these cards. I've done some testing here, but I want to give my 2 cents. And now here's the thing. More than likely, very likely, I will be wrong. But you know what? I like to just throw my hat into the ring and guess, predict what's going to do good based off the cards we've seen, some testing we have done, talking with other players, so let's just go, let's get right into it, guys. And make sure, before we start the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. At the time of filming this, we're only 2 subs away from 1,900 subs, and I'd really appreciate any and all support you guys are willing to give. We're getting ever closer to the 2,000 sub goal that I'm trying to get to, and I really appreciate anything you guys are able to do to help me out with that. And I cannot thank you guys enough for getting me to where I am now. I never fathomed this channel would get as big as it has gotten, and I'm so grateful to every single person that's helped us get this far. So, without further ado, I am waiting for a text from my brother Michael. I want his opinions on some of the things here because I did ask him to be on the video, but unfortunately he's doing daddy duty and can't make the video. So this is pretty early in the morning too. So let's just hop right into it. So we got tiers here. We got tournament winners. These are basically decks that I can easily see winning certain events. Whether it be locals or regionals, specifically more regionals. Then we have meta, which is going to be very competitive decks that have the opportunity to win. But you'll more than likely see these in the top 16, top 8 of most regionals here. Then we have can pop off / rogue, basically decks that if they see what they need to see and they see their curve, and depending on their matchup, they can do some really gross things. Locals is basically where the deck probably is better off being played at a local level, just having some fun, not doing anything crazy. And then we have, of course, please help, decks that really just don't have any type of support or haven't gotten any type of support and are basically on a life support. I'm just going to go ahead and pop Cooler in there. Cooler, unfortunately, just was such a cool concept in set 1 and didn't get anything really good in set 2 and has yet again not really gotten anything good in set 3. There's another meta Cooler, but I just don't see it happening. We might workshop him a little bit and see if maybe the meta Cooler engine can work with some of the new yellow cards, because yellow does get a lot of really awesome cards. So there's always a chance that Cooler may drop up to locals, but for now I just don't see him being anywhere close to that. Unfortunately, I kind of consider him like the worst leader in this game right now, which is really unfortunate. Let's start with Starter Coup here. I'm gonna say for Starter Coup, this one's a very difficult one because I love Starter Coup as a leader. I think he's very solid. He's a very fair leader. He's got a really fair ability. But with everything being power crept the way it has, I'm not sure if he can really hold his own anymore, especially when you consider some of the new leaders that are coming into the meta. So for now, I think Starter Coup is going to be at a local level. He's a very good leader, and I think he's actually a very good leader in deck to get new players starting to learn how to play the game. I think he's a great starter leader, hence he's a starter deck leader. But right now, a lot of the newer cards work better with other red leaders. So I just don't see him doing as well. Now, if we were continuing on the starter decks, I'm going to throw Vegeta here into meta, because Vegeta was one of the better leaders in the set 2 meta, especially after Top Coup was nerfed. Vegeta did see a big boost in popularity, but he didn't do as well as a lot of people were thinking he was going to be, because unfortunately green came back into the meta and green just bulldozes blue for the most part. But I think with a lot of the new support we have gotten in set 3, Vegeta and blue in general is going to be able to hold its own very well. I can see Vegeta honestly being possibly up to tournament winners, but I'm going to be more realistic this time around because I did put him down. I'm fairly positive in my previous tier list video, I put him in like top tier, and I haven't unfortunately seen him win any type of events. I think blue is still a very big brain deck to play, and if you can pilot it well, you can do very, very well with it. Unfortunately, it just may not be there quite yet, but I do think blue in general is in a very good spot right now. Like I said, this could possibly go into tournament winners, but I think for now, at least in this part of the video, I am going to keep him in meta. Next, we have Broly. Broly, I'm very tempted to just throw him into locals tier. Broly kind of saw a huge drop-off in set 2, with Tobu being the menace that it was. Even with Tobu's removal, Broly just hasn't done really anything. A lot of the newer cards just work better with some of the other green leaders. Green, this set in particular, feels like it's more heavily reliant on the new green leader. I don't know. The fact that he's a 25k base, which makes him good. But, like, his ability not to be able to draw on the backside. Oh, man. I don't know. I think we'll keep Broly in locals tier for now. We'll see if that changes at all. Next, Frieza. I'm going to throw Frieza into tournament winners because Frieza has been doing very well in the tournament scene. I know I've seen him win a couple, but I've also seen he didn't do as well as I thought he would. Oh, here we go, actually. I just got the text message from my brother. Okay, perfect. I like it. Picasso. Thanks, Mike. Frieza it's just a very good deck. Yellow has gotten a lot of really, really good generic cards that can be thrown at any leader. Especially in this new set, we have 2 barrier cards, which are going to make the game very, very good in Yellow's favor. I can definitely see Frieza doing very, very well in this upcoming format. Yellow is very good, in my opinion, against green. It's not a perfect win. You're not always going to win, but I think yellow's got a solid chance into green. It may not do as well into blue, but green kind of mollywops blue for the most part. So there's that perfect triangle balance, like I said, I can see Frieza doing very, very well. U7 Goku, man, I'm going to throw him into Rogue for now. This deck can be very explosive if you pilot it correctly. Before, it was just spam as many cards on the board, awaken as quick as possible, buff yourself up, and then just swing. But the problem is playing that method just kind of shoots yourself in the foot because the deck doesn't really have a hand because you're playing so many cards, you're defending your cards on board. It's rough. It's a rough matchup for sure. If you best way to phrase it, it's a glass cannon. But a lot of people are now pivoting to a more mid-range, slower style of gameplay that I have seen do pretty well. So I think this in general could be a rogue leader depending on the matchup. Like, this is still going to be a very scary deck in certain matchups. I like it. I do think this leader could have some potential in this new upcoming format. Now, I'm going to throw Beerus up here in tournament winners. Beerus surprisingly is still very, very good. It got hurt a bit with the Kefla nerf, but not as bad as Tobu. And when you have a leader that just straight up says, let me minus something by 10 and then me KO with other abilities, having that built-in self-removal is so good. And we are getting other cards that work with Beerus and the whole negging cards in set 3. So in general, I do think Beerus is going to do very, very well in the upcoming format. It's just a good, scary deck for the most part, for sure. Next, we have Goku Black, and we're just going to pop him off into Rogue. I and a lot of other content creators had talked about Goku Black being possibly one of the best decks in the format. And I do think if he sees his curve, oh my god, game over. Like, Goku Black, when you see everything you need to see, the deck is so good. But that's pretty much it. Like, you have to see exactly the right curve. You have to awaken at the right time. You have to have the right cards in your hand. You have to have the right cards on board. But honestly, it's not impossible. It is still very possible to do. I mean, I still got my Goku Black deck here. I love it. It's such a fun deck. It's probably the most fun I've had playing Fusion World for now. But I gotta be realistic. With the upcoming meta, he doesn't really get a whole lot of support in this set. He gets the new 2-cost Vegeta could actually work pretty well in this deck, but that does take away a little bit of its oh my god, what's the word? His consistency, that's the word. And I think in the right matchup, he's still going to be dangerous. Goku Black into green is very dangerous still. Into yellow, not so much. He's like the weird opposite blue. He's bad into yellow, good into green, when most blue decks are the opposite. Bad into green, good into yellow. It's a weird matchup for sure, but I think Goku Black is sitting pretty where he needs to be. We're going to just put him at the top of Rogue because he's my boy. I love him. Trunks, honestly, I think Trunks could... Like, I want to put him in meta because for the same reasons that Vegeta is up here, Trunks gets so much better... Like, he gets so much support in this next set with the Mai... It's not the Mai, the Videl. So, like, being able to work better with humans. Because a lot of Trunks' archetype does consist of Earthling characters, so having that Videl that cycles Earthlings is going to be very, very good. I think Trunks is in a pretty solid spot overall. Yeah, I think he deserves to be in meta. You know, this is not the blue player in me talking. I think blue got a lot of really good support, and I think that blue decks in general are going to be very, very good. So we'll just have to see, though. You know, it is, like I said, this is a prediction list. I could be completely wrong, but I like to think that blue's in a pretty solid spot right now. We're going to go ahead and just throw androids up in tournament winners. We're going to put him a little bit above Beerus. Android 17 is by far the best deck in the current meta. The deck has just an insane late game. It's incredibly strong. You know, the deck is... It's just the constant ramp. Being able to play 4-drop bodies for essentially 1, and then being able to play another 1. And then your late game consisting of cells, which KO 2 cost while healing. It's gross. It's an absolutely disgusting deck, and it probably is right now the best deck in format, and probably still is going to be the best deck in next set, unless people kind of figure out some of the crazy jank with some of the new leaders, which we will be getting to in just a little bit. But Android 17, I think, is set up to be doing very well. I can't really think of anything that is going to necessarily hurt the deck. I still think it's just good. It may not be getting any new support, but I still think it's a very, very good deck right now, for sure. So who knows? This 17 could take a huge drop off here, but I think for now, he's still, like, one of the best decks in format, for sure. Gohan... We're going to throw him in row. This is a tough one. Gohan was like the best deck in format in set 1. He didn't really lose anything. He didn't really gain anything either in set 2. Set 3 did get some newer cards, but for the most part, it still hasn't changed. So I think Gohan's a good green deck for sure. So I'm going to keep him in Rogue. He does have the ability to do really, really cool things, but for now, I think he's a solid deck. Nothing great, nothing bad. Ginu, same thing. We're going to throw in Rogue because, god dang, people can really do some stupid things with Ginu. Ginu hasn't really gotten anything since set 1. Maybe one additional card in set 2. I think there might actually be a card in set 3 that also works with Ginu, so I'm never going to necessarily say he's a bad leader or a bad deck anymore. He's not great, But like, depending on the matchup, you pop this guy down, I think you are in, like, you could steamroll an opponent. It's kind of nutty. Tobu, we're gonna throw at locals. He just isn't the same anymore now that he doesn't have access to his one-drop Awakening Roshi, his ending game card, which was the Ribrian double striker, and now he lost his Kefla, being only able to have one. I still think the deck is okay, it's just not nearly as good as it used to be anymore, because it lost its early game, its late game, and its mid game. So now the deck is, I think, much more fair. You still have really good options. They're just not nearly as good. So I think Tobu being in locals is perfectly fair. Next, we have Zamasu. Oh, God. See, this really is upsetting. Zamasu could have been a very... like, it's a definition of blue control, and I love that. The problem is... this deck wants to go late game in a world that green always wants to go late game, and it's just better at the late game. So it's really, really tough for me to properly judge him. Unfortunately, with how good green is right now, I just think Zamasu is better off at the local level. Like, into other decks, like yellow and red, I think he is a lot better. But unfortunately, in a world where green is just like right now the dominant color, it's just not as good. In a world where black, the new black color being a very, very powerful mid-range color, I also just don't see him doing well into that. But, you know, I don't know. I can make an argument for him to be put in Rogue or Locals, but I think we'll just put him in Locals for now. Next, we have Cell. We're gonna throw Cell into Rogue because there's some really shady shenanigans that this deck might be able to start doing in combination with Farmer with Shotgun. That's what we're gonna call him here. Farmer with Shotgun, and combined with the Tragedy in Ginger Town or something like that, where you can basically pop all of your Earthling cards on your board into your energy, and that card being a zero cost card means you can spam as much of it as you want. So you can spam all 4 for free and then charge 4 energy. It's kind of a gross thing. Beyond that, Cell's archetype is just pretty solid overall. Cell being Cell's leader ability is really weird, but like with the right pilot, you know, thinking out their moves ahead, yeah, I think Cell is a solid deck that can pop off if piloted correctly. It's not going to do amazing, but I think Cell is just a solid rogue deck. I think he's a bit better than being at the local level, but he's not as necessarily meta level, you know? Next, or finally, we have the last of the set 2 leaders, Vegeta. I think I'm going to throw him in meta. Now, hear me out on this. Like I said with Frieza, yellow is getting a lot of really good generic cards that Vegeta doesn't necessarily like Vegeta can use, and Vegeta just being a more slower control based yellow deck in comparison to Frieza, I think, oh man, I think Vegeta could really pop off. He's just going to get better over time with his ability. Same thing with Frieza. These two yellow leaders are so incredibly generic that their abilities will stand the test of time, I think, and they will continue to receive really good generic cards, which just makes their deck overall better. I can see yellow doing pretty darn well in this upcoming format for sure. And we'll just have to find out. My buddy also plays Vegeta, so he's very excited to get some of the new cards. Now we get to the new 6 leaders here. We have 2 black leaders and 1 new leader of each color. I haven't had a chance to test a lot of these black cards, but I will say that talking with some players and Cody, you know, we've talked quite a bit about the color black in general. Black I thought was going to be incredibly aggro, and I think it can be aggressive, but it seems to fit more into the mid-range color, and it's a very good mid-range. It can pivot to being aggressive, to defensive. It's got a lot of really interesting cards. It kind of does a little bit of everything. So for those reasons, I'm going to throw both Goku and Bardock into meta. I think a lot of people are going to want to test Black in the new format because it's the brand new color, and two, we got two amazing new characters, Bardock and Super Saiyan 4 Goku, two fan favorite characters that a lot of people are going to be wanting to play. And I think Black, like I said, is a really solid color. It kind of does a little bit of everything. It pseudo ramps, it draws, it destroys, it bounces. Like, it does a little bit of everything that every other color does, and that is so good. So I think either one of these decks will be competitive in the upcoming format. Sorry, I'm just looking at my brother's list talking points just to make sure I haven't missed anything here. Yep, perfect. Okay. Yeah, nothing about Black there. So yeah, I think Bardock, his deck is heavily reliant on comboing, the top card of your deck, with it being a Bardock's crew, which is it's always going to be a Bardock's crew because there's only Bardock cards. So, well, as long as you properly set it up, you're always going to be able to get that good combo and that, bonus for comboing. Then you have SS4 Goku, which is it's kind of a more generic Black build. It more heavily relies on the energy marker, which a lot of Black cards do create energy markers. So overall, I think Black is going to be in a very solid spot. I think Blue has a really good matchup into it, though, but I think it does pretty darn good into Red. And Green, we'll have to see how it does into Green, but we will... We'll see. We'll see how Black does. We got 4 more leaders here. Piccolo. This is a weird one to me. So, like I mentioned, Green wants to go into the late game. That's Green's specialty. But like Piccolo really doesn't do much of anything until the late game. Until the late game, he's just kind of like biding his time, building up his board, building up his energy, and then once late game comes around, he is swinging hard. Like, he is swinging huge attacks that you are just not going to be able to realistically stop. So, but like in this meta where we're going to have, like, Blue's going to be very good, so I think people are going to be playing Blue more. Frieza and Vegeta for yellow is going to be pretty solid. Man, I would say with the support that Piccolo has gotten, I'm just going to say Piccolo, I think, could be a respectable meta leader for sure. I think that typical Green stuff, you defend early on, you ramp as quick as you can, and at that point, you're just going ham. You're going big swings. I think in the right matchup, Piccolo is, well, I'm putting him in Rogue. So I think that he is, like I said, he can pop off late game, but if your opponent does not let you get to late game, then the Piccolo is not going to be as good. But I feel like we are in a bit of a slower meta now that Tobu isn't around anymore. And, Red's taking a step back, I should say. I don't know. I could really... I'm gonna put him near the top. Yeah, I'm put him here. Like, you can make the argument for either side, honestly, but I think he's probably better off in the Rogue tier. Next we got Majin Buu, and honestly, it really pains me, but I'm probably gonna throw him into locals because his ability is just not good because of his support. This leader is entirely dependent on its archetype and its support is not great. It basically free plays a 2-cost card at the end of your turn, and a lot of the 2-cost cards are blockers, which, like we've talked about on this channel before, low-cost blockers are not good, and that's kind of it. Like, there's nothing amazing that he plays. Hell, even his promo card, can't even play his promo card. There's another promo card you can receive later on, which is a 2-cost Vegeta, which isn't in archetype, which would make him a bit better, but because it's not in the set, you have to wait until later to pick it up. I really hate that, and unfortunately, I think I'm going to dock points for that. The best cards in Boo's, like in yellow in general, are generic and can be played better in decks like Frieza or Vegeta. So Boo, unfortunately, he is suffering because his support is just not great. And that's really unfortunate because I love Majin Buu and I wanted him to be a good leader, but unfortunately he's just not it. I just think he's not it. Next, we have Jiren. I'm going to throw Jiren up in tournament winners here. Jiren is a really solid red deck, and it's a different type of red deck. It is it's a slower base red deck because you awaken at 3 life because you're a 25k leader on the backside. With the cards that you have access to, specifically the 4-drop SR Jiren, game over. Like, you are playing 2 different games if you can get that card out. I can definitely, like, with the ability, you're constantly drawing, 1 to 2 cards a turn because of your leader ability. It's such a disgusting combo that I don't know. I just can't see me putting him any lower. I mean, maybe throw him into meta tier, but I don't know. I just think if you can pull it off, he is going to be incredibly dangerous, for sure. It's like 25k leaders always make a big impact, at least at the start. But I do think he's in a better spot than the previous 2, Broly and Zamasu, because his archetype and, what he's good into is a bit better than those 2, if that makes sense. Finally, we have SS2 Goku for blue, and I'm going to throw him in meta winners. Like, this might be me, being hopeful, but there's just a lot going for this leader, where people could say this leader is tied for best blue leader with blue Vegeta, but it's such a good card because you have built-in defense with the Orange Star High. You have the ability to cycle through your cards quicker because you're seeing a total of 3 cards every turn instead of seeing 2. And when I say 3, you draw 1, swing with the leader, draw 2, then put 1 back. You're seeing 3 cards in comparison to most decks only being able to see 2 per turn. So you're able to go through your deck quicker, find your answers to certain things that are on the board, and there's not a whole lot of things that get rid of field cards. So for the most part, you're going to have that built-in defense. Being able to become a 30k body on defense, which means your opponent's going to have to waste more energy, waste more cards to deal with your being able to swing into your leader. On top of that, blue, like I said, has gotten a lot of really amazing support. We now have an amazing curve of Vegito into Gohan. Being able to play a 30k body that also Sinister Sickles 2 4 costs is disgusting. Blue just, I think, is every set getting more and more pieces it needs to be a really, really good leader, or a great color in general. Being able to figure out what's the best tool to for this job. It's a toolbox style color, and I think Goku just does a really, really good job of that, while Vegeta is a much more aggressive blue leader and Trunks is more combo focused. Goku is just, you see more of your cards, and he's probably the more defensive leader, even more so than Zamasu at this point. So I think this list is going to be my final list. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did I put something that, did I put a leader too high up, you think, or did I put someone too low? Let me know in the comments. I would love to get any of your opinions. I love talking with you guys. I would love to know what you guys think is going to be the best, some of the best leaders, best decks in the next format. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button as we are on our way to 2,000 subs. We're this close. We're this close to 1,900, and I cannot believe. Yeah, sorry, I just can't believe it. Thank you guys so much for everything you have. I'm so excited to get my hands on these cards this weekend for pre-release. I figured out my pre-release situation. Actually, we're actually going to host it here in the Phil Plays TCG Man Cave back here. So that's going to be very, very exciting. I can't wait. I'm so excited to get these cards. I'm hopeful I can pull an Altar Goku leader. I'm hoping. Here's hoping. But thank you guys once again, and I will see you on the next video. Take care, guys.